Hey all, this is Anime Octopus. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving straight back into the deep end of our what-if scenario. Last time, we explored the initial spark of a legend, but today, we turn up the heat. The question on everyone's mind, what if Naruko combined Chakra with Blackleg style? We are breaking down the physics of the friction, the precision of the Chakra control, and the absolute devastation that occurs when Konoha's unpredictability meets the refined discipline of the Barate's finest. This is part 2. Disclaimer. The content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's start, guys. A flash of orange darted between the branches, moving with such grace and speed that Robin initially thought it was a fox. However, as she focused her sprouted eyes further ahead, she realized it was a young girl. The girl had bright, sun-kissed blonde hair tied into 2 playful pigtails that bounced as she leapt. She wore a vibrant orange tracksuit that matched the joyful expression on her face. Her blue eyes sparkled with curiosity, and she hummed a cheerful tune while navigating the tall oaks. "I see someone," Robin whispered, retracting her ability. The extra eyes vanished into petals of light. "A young girl is heading toward the clearing by the river. She looks quite friendly." Frankie struck a pose, his metal shoulders gleaming in the sunlight. "A local. That is super. Maybe she can tell us where the nearest shipyard is. Or a restaurant," Usopp added, his stomach giving a small growl. "I hope she has some snacks. Walking through mysterious forests always makes me hungry." The trio made their way toward the riverbank. As they stepped out from the shade of the thicket, they saw her. The girl was crouched by the water, carefully placing a small paper boat into the gentle current. She clapped her hands as it began to float downstream. "Hello there," Usopp called out, waving his arms. The girl spun around, her eyes widening in surprise. She didn't look scared. Instead, she looked absolutely thrilled to have company. She stood up, dusting off her knees, and gave them a wide, toothy grin. "Whoa! You guys look amazing," she exclaimed, her voice full of energy. "I'm Naruko. Are you travelers? I haven't seen an outfit like that since the last festival." Robin stepped forward with a gentle smile. "It is a pleasure to meet you, Naruko. I am Robin, and these are my friends, Frankie and Usopp. We seem to have lost our way. Could you tell us the name of this place?" Naruko tilted her head, her pigtails swaying. "You're just outside the Hidden Leaf Village. It's the best place in the whole world. I was just heading back to get some ramen. Do you like ramen? It's the best food for making you feel strong and happy." "Ramen sounds fantastic," Frankie boomed, giving a thumbs up. Naruko beamed at them. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small whistle, blowing a clear, bright note that echoed through the trees. "Follow me. I know all the secret paths. I'll take you to the village, and we can find your other friends. I'm great at finding people, it's my specialty." She began to lead the way, skipping ahead but frequently stopping to make sure they were keeping up. She pointed out colorful flowers and interesting birds along the path, her enthusiasm acting like a compass for the weary pirates. As they walked, Naruko spoke about her dreams of becoming the leader of her village one day so she could make sure everyone always had a warm meal and a place to call home. Her kindness was infectious, and even the cautious Usopp found himself laughing at her stories. "Don't worry," Naruko said, looking back at them with a reassuring gaze. "Whatever brought you here, we'll figure it out together." That's the Naruko way. Under the golden afternoon sun, the group followed their new friend toward the distant gates of the village, feeling much more hopeful than they had just moments before. How do the others react when they finally reunite at the village gates? A surprising meeting in the sand. Tamari gently pulled a rolled parchment from the shelf and spread it across the mahogany desk. Beside her stood the Kazekage, who watched with a calm but curious expression as their unexpected guests leaned in to see. The group was certainly unique. There was a tall, friendly man with bright hair, a polite young woman with a kind smile, and a very tall gentleman who, despite his skeletal appearance, wore a very dapper suit and carried himself with the utmost grace. However, it was the 4th member of the party who truly caught everyone's attention. Standing at the front of the group was a young woman with hair the color of spun gold, tied into 2 bouncy pigtails. She wore a bright orange jacket that matched her energetic spirit. Her blue eyes sparkled with wonder as she looked at the map of the great shinobi nations. "Wow," Naruko exclaimed, her voice full of genuine excitement. "I've never seen a map that looks like this before. Everything is so big." Tamari couldn't help but smile at the girl's infectious enthusiasm. "You're currently in Sunagakur, the village hidden in the sand. It's a long way from the ocean, which is where you say you came from." Naruko nodded vigorously. "Yeah. We were sailing on the most amazing ship, and then, well, things got a little bit magical, and suddenly we were standing right outside your big walls. My name is Naruko, by the way. I'm going to be a great hero one day and make sure everyone in the world is happy and safe." The Kazekage leaned forward, his gaze softening. He could sense a warm, powerful energy radiating from the girl, a light that felt like the sun itself. "It is a noble goal, Naruko. I am Gaara. Welcome to our home. A shared discovery." Robin, the archaeologist of the group, stepped forward and gestured toward the map. "We appreciate your hospitality, Lord Gaara. We are travelers from very far away. Back where we come from, we use a different kind of energy, but I've been hearing a lot about something called Chakra since we arrived." Naruko tilted her head, her pigtails swaying. "Chakra? Is that like the warm feeling I get in my tummy when I'm running or helping my friends?" Gaara nodded slowly. "In a way, yes. It is the life force that connects all living things. Here, we learn to guide that energy to protect our village and help others. It takes a lot of practice and a very kind heart." Naruko's face lit up with a grin so wide it seemed to brighten the entire office. "I love that. Using your inner strength to look out for your friends is the best thing ever. Maybe you can show us how it works?" The skeletal gentleman, whose name was Brooke, tipped his top hat politely. "It would be a marvelous melody to learn about your culture. We have many stories of our own to share and exchange. New friends and new paths." The afternoon was spent in a wonderful exchange of stories. Naruko told the siblings about the vast, blue ocean and the shimmering islands they had visited, while Temari and Gaara explained the beauty of the desert stars and the strength of the sand. "Greater than true strength," Gaara told Naruko, "is not found in how much power you have, but in how many people you choose to protect. Greater than." Naruko reached out and shook Gaara's hand, her grip firm and friendly. "I think we're going to be great friends, Gaara. If you ever need a hand, or someone to brighten up a cloudy day, you can count on Naruko." As the sun began to set over the golden dunes of the Land of Wind, casting long, peaceful shadows across the city, the travelers felt a sense of belonging. They were far from home, but in this hidden village, they had found a new kind of magic, the magic of a warm welcome and the start of a beautiful friendship. Even in a land of sand and wind, Naruko's bright spirit was already starting to bloom like a flower in the desert. How would you like Naruko and her friends to spend their first evening exploring the vibrant markets of the hidden sand village? The room was filled with a quiet sense of wonder as the snail creature on the table blinked its large, friendly eyes. Luffy, Brooke, and Nami leaned in close, their faces bright with hope now that they had reconnected with their friends. "The Land of Fire?" Nami repeated, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Is that where we can find a map? We really need to find the rest of our crew." Temari nodded, her expression softening as she realized these strangers weren't a threat, but simply lost travelers. "If you are heading that way, you will likely run into the most cheerful person in our neighboring village. She often helps travelers who lose their way in the woods." "A helpful person? That sounds perfect," Luffy exclaimed, adjusting his straw hat with a wide, toothy grin. "What is her name?" "Her name is Naruko," Temari replied. "She is a bright, energetic girl from the Hidden Leaf Village. You cannot miss her. She wears a bright orange jacket and has a smile that can light up even the darkest forest." On the other side of the Den Mushi, Robin's voice sounded intrigued. "Naruko? It sounds like she has quite the reputation for kindness." "She does," Gaara added quietly, his voice calm and steady. "She taught many of us that a helping hand is the strongest power one can possess. If you find yourselves near the gates of Konoha, she will likely be the first one to welcome you with a warm meal and a story." Nami smiled down at the snail. "Did you hear Kuhat, Robin? We have a destination. We will head toward the Land of Fire and look for a girl named Naruko. If she is as friendly as Temari-san says, we will be back together in no time." "Understood," Robin replied warmly. "We will begin our journey at sunrise. Stay safe, everyone." With a soft click, the snail tucked its eyes back into its shell and went to sleep. The room felt lighter now, filled with the promise of a new friendship. Luffy stood up and stretched his arms toward the ceiling, his energy returning in full force. "All right. Tomorrow we go find the Land of Fire and our new friend Naruko." He cheered. Brooke stood up as well, his tall frame casting a long but gentle shadow. "A girl with a heart of gold and a bright orange jacket. It sounds like a lovely start to a new adventure. I shall have to compose a cheerful song for her when we meet." Temari watched them, feeling a sense of peace. She knew that if they met Naruko, they would be in good hands. Naruko had a way of turning every stranger into a friend and every journey into a colorful story. The desert night was cool and quiet, but the hearts of those inside the room were warm with the thought of the sunny path ahead. The sudden shout from the blonde cook echoed through the quiet forest clearing, causing the old woman to jump in surprise and the squirrels to scatter from the nearby trees. Sanji stood rigid, his hand gripping the small den mushi so tightly that the snail looked a bit concerned. Sanji? What's wrong? Usopp's voice crackled through the snail, sounding startled. Why can't we meet there? It's the most central spot. Sanji took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing heart. He looked at Chopper's wide, curious eyes and Zoro's suspicious scowl. He knew he couldn't hide his past forever, especially not from his crew, but the thought of returning to the hidden village felt like a weight in his chest. I have a bad feeling about that place, Sanji managed to say, his voice much quieter now. Before he could elaborate, a sudden rustle in the high canopy above caught everyone's attention. A bright, cheerful blur of orange dropped from the branches, landing perfectly on her feet just a few yards away. A golden surprise. The girl stood tall with a confident grin, her golden hair tied into two long, bouncy pigtails that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. She wore a bright orange jacket and had distinct whisker-like marks on her cheeks that gave her a playful, fox-like appearance. "Did someone say Konoha?" she asked, her blue eyes sparkling with excitement. "Because if you're looking for the best village in the world, you've found its #1 representative. I'm Naruko, and I'm going to be the Hokage someday." Chopper's jaw dropped. "Whoa! You fell from the sky." Naruko laughed, a sound so warm and genuine it seemed to melt the tension in the air. She walked over to the group, her hands tucked behind her head. "I was just out on a training run when I heard a lot of shouting. Is everything okay? You guys look a little lost. An unexpected meeting." Zoro didn't lower his guard, but he did uncross his arms. There was no malice in this girl, only a boundless, dizzying amount of energy. "We're looking for our friends," Zoro said bluntly. Naruko's expression shifted from playful to determined. She slammed her fist into her palm. "Friends, huh? Well, Naruko is on the case. I never go back on my word, and I never leave someone behind. If your friends are heading toward Konoha, I can help you find them. I know every secret path and hidden trail in these woods." She turned her bright gaze toward Sanji, who was staring at her in stunned silence. She reminded him so much of the spirit of the sea, wild, free, and completely unstoppable. "Hey, Mr. Fancy Suit," Naruko said, stepping closer. "Why do you look so worried? Konoha is a great place. We've got the best ramen shops, the friendliest neighbors, and the view from the great stone faces is amazing at sunset. The power of kindness." The old shopkeeper stepped forward, smiling at the blonde girl. "Young Naruko is right. She's helped me carry my groceries many times. She has a heart of gold." Sanji looked at Naruko, then at his concerned crewmates. He realized that perhaps his memories of the past were being overshadowed by the kindness standing right in front of him. If a girl like Naruko called that village home, maybe it wasn't the dark place he remembered. "Fine," Sanji sighed, a small, reluctant smile finally appearing on his face. "But if we go, I'm the one cooking the celebratory feast when we find Luffy." "Deal." Naruko cheered, punching the air. "Believe it. Let's get moving, guys. We've got a crew to reunite." With Naruko leading the way with a skip in her step, the path toward the village didn't seem quite so daunting anymore. The sun began to dip low, casting a long, golden glow over the land of fire as a new friendship began to bloom. "Do you want to see how Naruko helps them navigate the forest, or should we skip to the moment they reach the village gates?" The crew stood on the sunny deck of the Thousand Sunny, the ocean breeze ruffling their hair as they processed Sanji's sudden declaration. The tension that had spiked moments ago began to melt away, replaced by a sense of curiosity and teamwork. A new destination. The decision was made. The Straw Hat crew adjusted their sails, setting a course for a land of lush forests and hidden wonders. Sanji, usually so focused on his kitchen, seemed to be bracing himself with a newfound sense of determination. He smoothed his suit and looked toward the horizon where the great forest of fire awaited them. Entering the hidden leaf. As the ship docked and the crew traveled inland, the scenery changed from salty waves to towering oaks and vibrant greenery. They soon reached the gates of a bustling village where the air smelled of fresh rain and toasted cinnamon. Standing atop the great gate was a young girl with bright, sun-kissed hair tied into two spirited pigtails. She wore a bright orange jacket and a headband that shimmered under the afternoon sun. She leapt down with the grace of a cat, landing lightly in front of the group with a wide, friendly grin. Meeting Naruko. "Hi there. Welcome to my home," she chirped, her blue eyes sparkling with excitement. "I'm Naruko, and I'm going to be the greatest leader this village has ever seen. Are you the travelers everyone was talking about?" The crew stared in awe at her infectious energy. Even Zoro, who usually kept to himself, couldn't help but blink at the sheer brightness of her personality. Naruko laughed, a sound like ringing bells, and gestured for them to follow her. She moved with a bouncy step, pointing out her favorite spots in the village. She told them stories of the best places to find acorns and the secret clearings where the flowers bloomed earliest in the spring. A wholesome welcome. Naruko led them toward a small, cozy shop with steam curling out of the windows. "You must be hungry after your long trip," she said, holding the door open for everyone. "Nothing beats a warm bowl of soup to make you feel at home. It is my absolute favorite." Inside, the atmosphere was warm and inviting. Naruko sat with them, sharing her dreams of helping every person in the village and making sure everyone felt included and happy. She spoke of friendship as the greatest strength a person could have, her voice filled with sincerity. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the rooftops of Konoha, the crew realized that their journey had brought them to a place of peace. With Naruko as their guide, the nightmares Sanji had feared were nowhere to be found. Instead, they found a loyal friend who proved that kindness and a brave heart could light up the entire world. The silver-haired ninja watched as the reindeer-like creature trotted closer, its large eyes filled with concern. Beside Kakashi, Sakura let out a small gasp of surprise. This peaceful afternoon had certainly taken a turn for the imaginative. "Chopper! There you are!" the blond man exclaimed, his voice losing its sharp edge. He straightened his suit jacket and adjusted his tie, looking much more composed than he had a moment ago. "We were just discussing our route. You were shouting," the small creature replied, its voice surprisingly soft and kind. "And you're upsetting the neighbors. We are guests here in the Hidden Leaf, remember?" The green-haired swordsman huffed, though he did slide his katana back into its sheath with a clean click. "The cook started it," he muttered, though his posture relaxed. He crossed his arms over his green coat, looking more like a traveler who had simply lost his way than a threat to the village. Sakura stepped forward, her expression shifting from caution to curiosity. "Are you all travelers? We don't see many visitors with." "Well, with companions like yours," she said, gesturing politely toward the reindeer. The blond man bowed slightly, a gesture of polished manners. "My apologies, miss. We are indeed far from home. We are looking for a friend of ours. She was supposed to meet us near the village gates, but we seem to have taken a wrong turn." "A friend?" Kakashi asked, his visible eye crinkling in a friendly manner. "Most people who come looking for someone in Konoha start at the administrative building. Who is this friend of yours?" Before the blond man could answer, a bright, melodic laugh echoed from the rooftop of a nearby tea shop. Everyone turned their heads upward. Perched on the edge of the shingles was a young woman with sun-kissed skin and golden hair tied into two long, bouncy twin tails. She wore a bright orange cloak that fluttered in the breeze, and her blue eyes sparkled with pure mischief and joy. "You guys are hopeless," she called out, leaping down with the grace of a forest cat. She landed softly on her feet right between the two groups. "I'll leave you alone for 10 minutes to go grab some cinnamon rolls, and you're already starting a parade in the middle of the street." Sakura's breath hitched. "Naruko?" The golden-haired girl turned, a wide, whisker-marked grin spreading across her face. "Hey, Sakura. Hi, Kakashi-sensei. Long time no see." She rushed forward and pulled Sakura into a warm, exuberant hug. Naruko radiated a sense of boundless energy and kindness, the kind that seemed to make the sunlight feel a little brighter. "Naruko, where have you been?" Kakashi asked, his voice filled with a rare, genuine warmth. "We've been meeting for ramen every week hoping for news." "Oh, you know me," Naruko said, stepping back and gesturing toward the three odd travelers. "I've been exploring. I met these guys out past the land of waves. They were a bit lost, okay, they were very lost, but they have the biggest hearts I've ever seen. I told them they had to see the Hidden Leaf. It's the best place in the world for a snack and a nap." The blond man smiled warmly at Naruko, and even the grumpy swordsman gave a small, respectful nod. It was clear they cared for her deeply. "Well," Sakura said, wiping a small tear of happiness from her eye. "If Naruko brought you here, then you're more than welcome. But maybe less shouting about alleys and more talking about lunch?" "Ramen," Naruko cheered, throwing her hands up. "My treat. I found a secret stash of coins in my old frog wallet this morning. Let's go, everyone." With Naruko leading the way, the group started down the street. The tension in the air vanished, replaced by the bubbly chatter of a girl who had returned home and the gentle clatter of new friends following in her wake. The village felt whole again, bathed in the glow of a golden afternoon and the promise of a very long, very happy meal. Sanji stared out the window of the inn, his mind racing. He had always been a man of many secrets, but being back in this village brought everything to the surface. Beside him, Chopper was tidying up his medical bag, while Zoro sat cross-legged on the floor, sharpening one of his swords with rhythmic, steady strokes. The air was thick with the unanswered questions that had been piling up since they crossed the village gates. "You knew those people," Zoro said, his voice low and gravelly. It wasn't a question. The silver-haired man and the girl with the pink hair. "You knew them." Sanji let out a long, weary breath. He didn't have his usual distractions to lean on, and the weight of his friend's curiosity was becoming impossible to ignore. He looked at Chopper, who was watching him with wide, trusting eyes, and then at Zoro, whose expression was unyielding. "I grew up here," Sanji admitted quietly. "Before I found my way to the Bharati, before I ever met any of you. This village. It was my home once." Chopper gasped, his hooves pausing over a roll of bandages. "You lived here, Sanji? In this beautiful place with the giant stone faces?" "Yes," Sanji said, a small, sad smile playing on his lips. "But I wasn't the Sanji you know now. I had a different life, and I had a very special friend. Her name was Naruko." Zoro stopped sharpening his blade. "Naruko? Is she one of the shinobi you mentioned?" "The best of them," Sanji replied, his eyes brightening with a sudden, imaginative spark as he remembered. "Naruko was like a whirlwind of sunshine. She had bright blonde hair, just like mine, and the most incredible blue eyes you've ever seen. She wore a bright orange outfit because she never wanted to hide. She wanted the whole world to see her and know that she was going to be the leader of this village one day." He stood up and began to pace the small room, his hands moving expressively as he told the story. She was full of boundless energy and a kindness that could change anyone's heart. While everyone else was serious and gray, Naruko was a splash of color. She loved ramen more than anything in the world. I used to try and cook healthy things for her, but she'd always talk me into making an extra large bowl of miso pork ramen with extra narutomaki. Chopper giggled. "She sounds like Luffy." "In a lot of ways, she was," Sanji agreed warmly. "She had a dream that was bigger than the sky. She used to stand on top of that mountain and look out over the trees, promising that she would protect everyone. She had this incredible spirit. No matter how many times she fell down while practicing her skills, she would get right back up, dust off her knees, and laugh. She called it her never give up way." Sanji looked toward the door, as if he expected Naruko to burst through it at any moment with a loud greeting and a request for a snack. The pink-haired girl, Sakura, was her teammate. And the man with the silver hair was their teacher, Kakashi. Seeing them again. It made me realize how much I missed her light. Naruko had a way of making you believe that anything was possible, even for a cook who only wanted to find a legendary sea. Zoro sheathed his sword, his gaze softening just a fraction. "And where is she now?" "Doing exactly what she promised, I imagine," Sanji said, looking out at the village lights. "Spreading hope and making sure everyone has a reason to smile. She's the kind of person who leaves a mark on your heart. If we run into her, you'll know. The whole world feels a little bit warmer when Naruko is around." Chopper hopped up onto the bed, his spirits lifted by the story. "I hope we get to meet her. She sounds like a wonderful friend." "She is," Sanji whispered. "The most wonderful friend a person could have." A chance encounter in the woods. The tall, dark-haired woman named Robin released her hold, and the young traveler slumped forward, drifting into a peaceful, temporary sleep. She reached into his satchel and pulled out a hand-drawn map. Her companions, a tall man in a mechanical suit and a musician with a very lively spirit, gathered around her. "It seems we really are far from the ocean," Robin murmured, tracing the lines of the map with a slender finger. "According to this, the village of Kanahagakur is just beyond these ancient woods." The girl with the golden spirit. Deep within the heart of the hidden village, a young girl named Naruko was busy making her own kind of history. She was easy to spot, with her bright golden hair tied into two bouncy pigtails and a smile that seemed to catch the morning sunlight. Naruko wasn't interested in being a quiet shadow. She wanted to be a beacon of kindness for her home. Today, she wasn't practicing stealth, she was practicing her great act of friendship. She spent her morning helping the elderly carry their groceries and rescuing runaway kittens from the high branches of the oak trees. Greater than believe it. She cheered, her voice ringing out through the marketplace. "One day, I'm going to be the leader of this village, and everyone will know that the best way to lead is with a helping hand. Greater than." She wore a bright orange jacket that matched her energetic personality. While some of the older villagers shook their heads at her constant chatter, most couldn't help but smile when she passed by. She had a way of making the grayest day feel a little bit brighter. An unexpected meeting. As Naruko made her way toward the village gates, she saw three strange figures approaching. They didn't look like any travelers she had seen before. One was wearing a very fancy suit, another held a violin, and the lady in the lead held a map that looked suspiciously like the ones used by the local academy. Naruko skipped toward them, her pigtails swaying. She stopped a few feet away and put her hands on her hips, her blue eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Hey there!" she called out warmly. "You guys look like you've come from a really long way away. Are you lost? Or did you just come to see the world's greatest future leader?" The woman, Robin, knelt down to match Naruko's height. She was struck by the girl's vibrant energy. "We are travelers, little one. My name is Robin, and we are looking for a place to rest. Is this the village hidden in the leaves?" "It sure is," Naruko replied, offering a wide, toothy grin. "And you're in luck, because I'm the best tour guide in the whole land of fire. I'll show you where the best ramen is, where the prettiest flowers grow, and I'll make sure nobody gives you any trouble." The journey begins. The travelers looked at one another. After their confusing trek through the woods, Naruko's genuine kindness was like a breath of fresh air. "She has a very brave heart," the musician remarked, bowing low to the young girl. "I have the bravest heart," Naruko corrected him playfully. "Now come on. We have a lot of walking to do, and I want to hear all about where you came from. Do you have villages like ours over there? Do you like noodles? Oh. And do you want to see my new jump rope trick?" With Naruko leading the way, the group walked through the towering wooden gates. The sun was high, the birds were singing, and for the first time in a long time, the strangers felt like they were exactly where they were meant to be. Naruko talked and laughed, her spirit acting as a bridge between two very different worlds, proving that a little bit of friendship could turn any stranger into a guest. The three travelers watched as the young girl, Naruko, drifted into a peaceful nap on the soft grass. Robin gently deactivated her ability and reached down to pick up the colorful map Naruko had mentioned. The girl couldn't have been older than 14, yet she carried herself with a sense of duty and energy that was truly remarkable. Was it really necessary to startle her like that? Usopp asked, his voice filled with concern. He watched Naruko's calm expression as she slept, her bright yellow pigtails resting against the earth. "She is a very spirited young lady," Robin replied with a kind smile. "If we hadn't encouraged her to rest, she would have insisted on guiding us across the entire continent without stopping for a single snack. She needs her energy." Frankie patted Usopp's shoulder with a metallic thud that was surprisingly gentle. "She's got a big heart, that one. Let's make sure she's comfortable before we move on." Sakura sighed as she leaned back against her front door, finally home after a long afternoon. Her day had been full of surprises after meeting the two strange but friendly visitors in the market. The blonde traveler had been exceptionally polite, though there was something about his cheerful energy that felt strangely familiar. Later, while sitting at the ramen shop, Kakashi mentioned a similar feeling. He told Sakura and Iruka that the visitor's bright, determined gaze reminded him of someone they all cared for deeply. Sakura's eyes wandered to a framed photograph on her shelf, a picture of Team 7 from their very first year together. As she looked at the image, a realization warmed her heart. The visitor's sapphire blue eyes were exactly like Naruko's. Sakura froze, then quickly crossed the room to pick up the photo. She looked closely at the girl in the center of the picture, Naruko, with her whiskers like marks on her cheeks and her bright, orange jacket. In her mind, Sakura compared that face to the visitor she had met earlier. At first, Sakura had simply thought the man was a wandering storyteller, but looking back, she saw a hint of kindness and a spark of adventure in his eyes that was unmistakable. It was the same spark Naruko carried whenever she talked about her dreams of becoming the leader of their village. Could it be that the stories Naruko always told about her far-off relatives were true? Sakura smiled to herself, realizing that wherever Naruko went, she seemed to leave a trail of sunshine and mystery behind her. How do you think Naruko will react when she wakes up and finds her friends waiting for her? For more deep dives into the world of ink and animation, stay tuned. Until next time. Anime Octopus.